everyone, to the SMITE Summer Masters. As we move forward into set number 2. And of course, all of this, yeah?
That's strong.
All of this
We'll save
powered
some of that. Slow down.
by these guys right here. We have the Alienware laptops. We've got the Aurora Ryzen R10 desktops there that the players are playing on. And for some of these SCC guys, this is an upgrade, right? I mean, they're going from their home setups now to playing on the 244 hertz gaming monitors. Alongside that, those Aurora, again, R10 desktops that are out there rocking the 3090s and some ridiculously strong processors as well. And of course, you can get in on all of that action. Make sure you go to smitegame.com/Alienware and then use code AWSmite09 for some discounts. Make sure you follow Alienware on Twitter and Instagram @Alienware and go to alienwarearena.com to join their global community. So thanks again for Alienware and coming back here in Season 9, empowering all of the players. My name's Gore. That's Mifflin, as you saw, with a very strong drink in his coconut. Potent drink. And we're going to be watching, I think, a very fun one. We got the Hounds, the #1 SCC, going up against the Valks, the bottom of the SBL. And this seems like a matchup that, if anywhere was going to be an upset, seeding-wise, this is the one that usually it would happen.
Yeah, I mean, the Eldritch Hounds have been such a bombastic team. Getting the opportunity to watch these guys has always been fun. Not only do they make plays on field, but if you've been watching their escapades throughout the last couple of events, they've got some pretty big personalities as well. But when we're talking purely gameplay, when we're talking purely strategy, I think the Eldritch Hounds embody raw aggression. I'm talking high-pressure laning phase, high-pressure junglers, just run it down all the way across the map. They're one of the few SEC teams as well that I think puts a good deal of emphasis towards the Gold Fury. I feel like generally when we're watching SEC regular season, it's a whole lot of Pyromancer play throughout the early, whereas the Eldritch Hounds generally like to go towards that higher value of the two objectives. I'm keeping my eyes on individual standout players. Quig, in particular, has impressed me a fair bit. He's been very consistent out of that support role. And, of course, if you've been watching the SPL, recently you've got a good look at Oath. Well, now Oath back at home with his boys. I'm expecting some pretty good performances from him as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch this again. Oath, as you mentioned, a player that has been incredibly strong. I also have to give shout-outs here. Again, this team knocked out. They were the only SCC team last Masters to knock out an SPL team. They took out the Scarabs at the time.
Sir.
And I think now someone else will maybe attempt to have the same honor. They're going to try to switch that target up here to the Valkyries. And again, someone like Crimson, who's had insane KDAs, very, very fun to watch this team play. And I think that this set is not going to be an exception to that one. This is going to be right on par, another one. That's fun. They've been my team to keep the eye on in the SCC for the year. And you know what? Instead of just listening to me talk about it, we can talk to them about it. We got Dave standing by in the booth for an interview.
Thanks, fellas. Down here in the team booth with the Eldritch Hounds. And I can't believe I'm going to open myself up to this. Dude, man, bro, I'm going to come to you first. Now, I control the mic this time, so I can pull it away as quickly as I choose to here. How's the team feeling coming into this event?
We're feeling really confident. We're just playing Uller. You know, we're getting our mechs ready. We're going to go 5-man Uller, hopefully.
Kabam, our admin, is staring at you, rubbing his hands, waiting for you to say something.
What's he going to do about it? What's Kabam's going to do about it? What do you think?
He's questioning things. Kabam might have the most G-rated dude, man, bro interview there's ever been. Crimson, I'm coming to you really quick. Last event, this squad, the only team to beat one of our SPL teams. You think you guys can do it again here this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have the best matchup that we wanted, the Valks, so we're pretty confident.
Excited to see what you guys can do. Dude, man, I am nervous coming back to you, but go ahead.
We're going to try our hardest. We're going to Our whole game plan, I hope this is live, but the Valks, we're going to go on them hard. We're going to come at them really hard. We're going to try to just get on top of them. We're going to get on Wowie, and we're not going to get off them. You know what I'm saying?
Bordering on it there towards the end, but the strategy is there. Let's see if we can shut down Wowie here. Game number 1. Good luck to the Eldritch Hounds. Back to the desk.
You hear the game plan right there, Mifflin. It's camp the duo lane. That's how I'm going to reword that one to make it a lot. See, I would do the same, except these are prescription. I genuinely can't see.
I got contacts in.
Oh, you got your contacts in? No, I also think I just look weird without my glasses on. Like, I feel like I look...
like really hot.
I can't. Well, you know what? I genuinely can't tell. The only monitor I can see at this angle, it's a blur, dude.
You're going to have to
So,
trust me. I can see you perfectly,
okay.
and you're looking good.
Thanks, man.
Like a whole
I
snack.
appreciate that. You know who else has been looking good? The Valhalla Valkyries. They've been looking real good,
Good transition.
as of late. And a lot of that has been, even though, again, standings-wise, nothing shifted for them, unfortunately. Play-wise, everything shifted for them. I mean, I don't know what it was, but they clapped it together. They got everything that they needed to, and they start finding wins, right? They've beaten the Leviathans twice now this year. They beat the Warriors. They held their own against the Titan. They still got 2-0'd, but I think that was a very competitive set from them compared to what we're used to seeing. And so this is a team that I think just in time, I mean, look, you're talking 6 weeks, 7 weeks, essentially, of SPL play in Phase 2 where things just did not look great for them. And then finally getting their first win and doing it right before Masters was the best time to level up.
Yeah, after their first win, I thought to myself, all right, fluke win, right? Like, everyone's going to win at least once. We play so much SMITE that it's just bound to happen, right? Secondary win, I'm thinking to myself, hold on, the Valhalla Valkyries have been looking a lot better. Even in their losses, it's a bit more competitive. So I reached out to Kiermi, and I asked him, hey, man, what changed? And he had essentially, in more words, but I'll break it down and keep it simple so I'm not blowing up anybody's spot. He had said that tensions were high, things were getting a little bit heated, and then all of a sudden, something just clicked. Maybe there was an argument, they had a sit-down conversation, they had a discussion about, look, man, we haven't been playing our style. This isn't how we looked back when we were the Winter Dogs or whatever. So we want to get back to playing our game. And so they did that, and all of a sudden it's much more aggressive play. It's a whole lot more succinct. They're getting to these objectives. The laning phase, the drafts look different. I would argue that it might be a regression for the Valhalla Valkyries. Back to when they had just joined the SPL. The first couple weeks, they weren't looking so bad, and then since then, it was a slow, just degrading. Like, they got a little bit worse.
Yeah.
And now they have regressed back to their original state, and it's looking a whole lot better. I have been very impressed by the Valhalla Valkyries, so I'm hoping they can hold on to it and start iterating on it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what this team has to offer. I think that as they powered up again, as they found their stride, as they hit those numbers again, I think that they've become a lot more of a firecracker to watch here. And maybe a dark horse for Masters. Who knows? I guess we'll see as of today as to whether or not they can stand up to that. And the Hounds, I'm sure, looking to give them a hard time, as alluded to by the interview specifically over there. I won't be surprised if Cupid gets banned. Like, if they're looking at WoWie already, then I know exactly where the drafts are going, or at least where my mind goes. And that's something that was interesting and always kind of different. Again, we watched the Valks play last week. Like, it's been like 4 days since their last set, or 5 days or something like that.
Yeah.
For the Hounds, it's been like a month since we've seen them. Like, competitively, a lot of patches have changed. Granted, a lot of stuff will trickle down. They've watched the SPL. They know what's going to be meta and things like that. But it does mean that, they've got a little bit more of a surprise factor jumping into this set.
Well, I'm sure they've been studying up very well, practicing in the downtime, of course, too. I mean, it didn't seem to me, having the opportunity to speak to the Eldritch Hounds or even hearing their interview with Dave, that do they seem concerned? I mean, it might be bravado, of course. You're talking to Dude Man, bro. You're talking to Crimson. These guys have been around the scene for a whole lot of time, but I don't know. Something about how they're conducting themselves, having had the opportunity to see a couple of their games recently, I've got some confidence in the Eldritch Hounds. But it's going to be a unique matchup because I think it's going to be a style clash between these two. Both of them, the Valhalla Valkyries recently gotten back to their early game aggressive styling. The Eldritch Hounds have been doing that for about as long as we've been watching them. Could be a pretty volatile early game. I'm thinking this could be a set where each individual match might just be decided in the first 10 minutes.
That's actually going to make things even more interesting to watch. Well, although maybe only for 10 minutes of each one. I guess we'll see here in game number 1. Picks and bans. Kicking it off, Hounds will be the first pick team. And immediately starting things off with a Cabrakan ban. And again, this is where things get interesting. Cabrakan is a Gamma and a Benny ban. Like, it's because of some weird overlapping god pools, which more often than not, I'm going to blame Benny Q for here. It ends up working against a couple of people, but a lot of strong picks the Valkyries have had. And, even just going, I even have it. I can just go look at, like, their last week stuff and how that went for them. And showcase, I think, a lot of the strengths they have. But Cupid has been, like, a huge priority both for and against them. Their Osiris ended up looking really good. They had a Chernobog game. Even bringing out the Soul at one point. And that was the thing that I think made last week interesting, was that they didn't feel like standard Valkyrie games. And much to what you said earlier, they were forced out of their comfort zone, forced onto picks that we weren't seeing too often. And that made them look good.
Yeah, the Valkyries certainly on a resurgence now. Need to prove that they're holding on to it as they line up against the Eldritch Hounds. Jingshen and Osiris going to round out the first phase of bans from the Hounds. Waiting on that third from the Valkyries. Cupid still makes his way through in a pick that I think both Hunter players are very much accustomed to playing. Dude Man Bro, one of the most aggressive players that we've seen out of the SEC, would love to get something that could dominate that laning phase. Wowie was playing Cupid all the way since the Obey days and has not stopped. Luckily for him, we're in a Cupid meta right now, so the Valkyries likely benefiting from that. Eldritch Hounds get a decision ahead of them. Do they want the Cupid? No. Amuzin Cobb in the first slot. Yeah, curious selection. Doesn't have a good matchup in the Cupid, so that does make me think that is going towards the mid lane. Should net you a good deal of pressure there. Not many people out clearing Amuzin Cobb. But I think the Valkyries' decision-making is pretty simple. Cupid's up. Yeah, let's get that.
I was like Cupid, like King Arthur, if they want something that's been kind of top of the line.
Maybe
for
like an Erlong.
an Erlong Shin. Yeah, Osiris has been banned, so that at least limits a little bit. No, it's going to be the Daji. AMC, though, I want to roll back to him because we had the mids in, a few weeks ago for a media day. It feels weird thinking about the fact that this is a Wednesday. This is like this is our media day normally. But them talking about AMC having all that extra pressure and then being like, okay, well, but also like Stinger. Realistically, you want it somewhere where it's going to be in the fight a little more often. That feels like it's going to be good here. But the Cupid, we just talked about it a lot. That's good for WoW. That's about as far as that one needs to go. Daji gets locked in. And I had said this, like, outside of some of the warriors that have been coming through, maybe Lancelot as well, since he's kind of joined into the conversation the last couple of weeks. But Daji has been, like, the top jungler for a majority of the SBL teams.
Just so good at burning those beads, has phenomenal 1v1 potential. I mean, we've seen what like Lasbra or Cubo Fred are capable of doing on that pick. In the absolute latest portions of the game, feels like if you're in an offensive position, maybe you're sieging the base, generally we'll see the jungler split off as 1-4-1 split on base. Siege, nobody wants to line up against the Daji. I mean, you're in comms there, and everybody's saying, someone's got to stop Daji, and it's like a game of nose goes starts, and everyone's like, well, not me. I don't want to do that, because she is so difficult to beat in those scenarios, in just neutral team fight territory. The ability to essentially burn, 3 beads consistently, more if they're stacked up. That's very strong in its own right. But taking it this early in the draft should allow the Hounds to pick against it relatively well. Soul with the CC immunity in her ultimate, the sap rate as well, going to be an okay tool to deal with the Daji, can escape some of those situations. If anybody is getting single target pulled, likely will be that AMC who doesn't have any CC immunity inherent to the kit. So what do we do for him? Well, let's get a Capri, something that can just make sure he's making his way out of those situations as well. So I like the draft from both teams, but I would say aggressive onus belongs to the Valkyries. I think the Valkyries are essentially drafting whatever they want right now, and the Hounds are trying their best to react.
Yeah. We'll see, though. I mean, Daji, Cupid, like, even though they can do a lot of spread damage in their team fight, Capri feels like he can be simultaneously good against them and weak against them. That's, we've seen a lot of it over the last week. Capri first pick into immediate Cupids on the other side. One good Fields of Love all of a sudden is all you need. Ymir locked in. And for Gamma, I'm going to give him a ton of compliments here. One, the Cabrakan, when he plays it, the walls are some of the best parts of him playing Cabrakan. And what does Ymir do if not picking it up more often, more walls? But who cares about him? We see Ymir all the time. Lancelot gets locked in here. Again, towards the bottom of the draft. But you seemed a little surprised to have him locked in now alongside of Kaolin.
Yeah, Lancelot into Ymir is just on fun, right? Like, I'm going to start my ultimate. He rears up the horse, and the Ymir's like, wall. And you're not moving is the thing. You're stuck here, in fact. So, tough situation, I think, for the Lancelot in the team fight phase in particular. Otherwise, now with Kaolin rounding out the draft, I had assumed that it was going to be Lancelot solo, so instead it's going to be Lancelot jungle, which means you're going to be seeing that Ymir versus Lancelot matchup a bit more often than I even had originally thought. So, high execution jungler for Oath, but certainly one that it can get involved early on. I've been talking about it ad nauseum, how strong he is from levels like 4 through 10. Just feels like he can really dominate the map. Has okay matchup in individual picks. Ymir pretty telegraphed, and when he wants to go for that freeze, the shield bash from Lancelot, the knockback, a good deal quicker. Should be able to deal with some of those situations relatively well. But it feels like to me, if this composition, if the mid 3v3 for the Hounds starts to fall behind, the Valkyries might just run over them with this draft. You do not want to be on the retreat against this team that the Valks have built for themselves.
I mean, nobody, AMC, Capri, Soul, Lancelot, like Kaolin, when Salmon Leap is available, can get over the wall. Everybody else is stuck.
Yep.
And it feels like a lot of the time, Kaolin's probably going to end up getting stuck in there. That's maybe a lot of pressure or no pressure at all onto Gamma here to lock people in. It's going to be an easy job, but those walls are going to be important for it. Daji, we have to talk about in-kit CC immunity usually when that comes down. Or I guess in this case, Capri being able to res some people. But along, that damage plus Cupid plus Discordia, I mean, much to what you were saying, it feels like the Valkyries can get ahead pretty quickly. And then when they're ahead, their team just wins harder against the draft that the Hounds have.
I mean, just compare lane to lane, right? We can assume that it's likely going to be a Soul Capri lane in the duo up against Cupid Ymir. That's a whole lot of pressure. I would say maybe 70-30 odds favoring the Valkyries. In mid, Discordia up against AMC. AMC should be able to establish pressure, but with the help of Lancelot, maybe you're giving kill pressure over to the Hounds there. And then Soul lane's essentially a handshake lane, but I might just favor the Bellona by nature of having sustain. That Scourge plus Death Toll combo should open up the door to playing around that blue buff. If you're already assuming that the Valkyries are likely going to lose out on pressure in mid, you're probably going to see a lot more presence in the side lanes from their jungler, which might control that Hounds mid lane. It is not often that we see teams kind of all in on the center of the map. Usually you choose one of your side lanes to start dominating because it's way less likely that the jungler is going to show up and really start to throw a wrench in your works. This time around, I think the Hounds kind of need to play through that mid 3v3. Not the best situation to be put in when individual pieces of your mid 3v3 just get dominated by Ymir.
Yeah, and then even kind of sprinkling in, again, Daji matchups for some of that is going to be pretty helpful. I mean, against an AMC, should bully him pretty hard. I'm also interested to see, you mentioned the Bellona lane phase. I'm interested in some of the Bellona late game. The silence against a Soul and an AMC feels like, if you're defending, great. If you're aggressing, great. It feels like it's just a great way to strip some damage off the board there from the Hounds. But that's enough from us on here on the desk. Let's just see how well these two teams can play it out as we jump down to game number 1.
Thank you so much, Gore and Mifflin, the #1 NASCC squad, the #8 SPL squad between the Hounds and the Valkyries, respectively face off in game number 1. It's J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug to bring the action for our second set of the day in the SMITE Summers Masters. And we're going to be seeing this Lancelot this time around in the jungle. Been seeing a little bit of mixed success as far as this god is concerned. Some good games in the solo lane over in our SPL debut. How do you feel about it in this matchup in particular, Trelly?
It's got a good matchup into the Daji. We had to see that firsthand. What happens whenever a great Paolo gets Lancelot on the horse, and you try to pull him off, and then you just get sad. You're like, what happened? Well, he doesn't care about the Daji too much. The damage, of course, he cares about, but the Paolo itself, not going to be the biggest deal. Oath still does grab the beads just in case, because there is other ways you can knock him off the horse, but the Paolo not going to be one. And I think that the Hounds have surrounded themselves with a lot of pressure in the sense of AMC is not going to be getting out cleared anytime soon by a Discordia. And you also got that Kaolin over there and so that you can certainly look to play through. Their duo, of course, is up against a Ymir, and that's not going to be fun. But if you stay away from duo lane and look elsewhere, I think Lancelot, Oath in particular, should be able to open up some avenues for his team.
I will say I am very excited for probably this matchup more than any of them when it comes to the SCC versus the SPL. Not that the rest of them aren't interesting at all. But this is probably one of the closest matchups as far as seeding is concerned between the two different leagues of the SPL and the SCC, getting the #1 SCC. And this is an undefeated North American team. Only had dropped, I think, 1 or 2 games during their time, and we get an immediate 2v2 battle at Coup. Oath on the losing end of the trade as far as the health is concerned, but the totem of Coup, first one, does go over to the Eldritch Hounds, so going to give a little bit of help to the remaining lanes.
Yeah, I think Daji has a very strong level 2, whereas Lancelot really, once he gets level 3 and has access to a full range of his abilities, with using the horse as well, I think his fight is much stronger once that occurs. But at level 2 can certainly get bullied out, as we just saw. Even with Remakami on the Kaolin, not going to be as much early pressure as Aquarius can bring on that Bellona.
Dash by Oath, but he is getting bled out by the passive Kirmi, just by the raw damage of this Daji. The mid 2v2 should still go fine for the Eldritch Hounds. Crimson on this Amusin Cobb, something that he has played multiple times in his time during the SCC. We saw how prevalent it was at the SPL level in the hands of players like Big Man Tings and Dardes. But this dual lane is really where the firecrackers really start sparking up.
Yeah,
for the Eldritch Hounds as Dudeman Bro is getting absolutely chunked through. A dash in by Wowie. A root is good from Quig. And that will give Dudeman just enough time to get to the sap rate to make it out.
Yeah, Quig did have to pop the med there. A lot of aggression, you know. Contrary to what Dudeman Bro was saying, it's going to take a bit before you actually are able to camp a Cupid like this when you have a Ymir in lane with you. Gamma is not letting the Eldritch Hounds breathe for even a second. Just constant pressure. Once that freeze comes through, you have a pretty guaranteed heart bomb. And with the wave being pushed in, the Valks could certainly look to invade this purple buff. They have all the time in the world. However, they do have the hog available. Quig could easily confirm this.
Quig will do so as soon as that freeze fades away. Maybe the more interesting of the, at least the starter pickups, Dudeman Bro goes to the Mannequin Scepter right out the gate for Soul. And we've been seeing so many different options for Soul starter items between things like the Death's Toll. I think we saw Conduit Gem at one point in the SPL, Gilded Arrow. I mean, how do you feel about mannequins for Soul in the duo lane?
I think Mannequin Scepter is my favorite starter in a situation like this, where you know that the enemy team might have a little bit more experience playing at a top level late game, but Soul can get online early with her heat. Mannequin Scepter is the best 1v1 boxing tool early on in the game. So you're just going to get so much extra damage. The attack speed slow is going to add up. Your farm is also increased. At any point, Dudeman Bro can go solo one of those camps or his purple buff very effectively. I think it just gives you a little bit of wiggle room in the early, where you can, maybe you get pressured out in lane, but you can always get your farm, and you're not going to get too invaded. Late game, there are definitely better options, but in the early, I think, particularly against this Cupid, Dudeman Bro can get a lot of value if he plays it right around the farm on the left side of the map, and just making sure to, you know, he's starting lifesteal, so he should be able to sit in lane for as much as possible. He has that sustain, and it should be able to work out for him.
Potential invade at the Serpent. Not going to happen, at least for now. Eldritch Hounds can keep the Valkyries at bay and keep them inside of the duo lane. And I'm curious as to where Kiermi is going to put his pressure on this Dodgy. More often than not, we've been seeing early game, Kiermi heads his way over to the solo lane, tries to get pressure for Aquarius, and then makes his rotation towards duo to make sure that Gamma and WoW can get online. Do you imagine for Kiermi, the call is very similar. Make sure your Aquarius is fine first few levels, and then come to duo lane. They might need, or might not need, at least the help for now with how much pressure Duo's been putting out.
Yeah, I expect Kiermi more so on the right side of the map like he is currently, just because of the fact that Quig and Dudeman Bro have no sort of pressure. They're not stepping up past their tower line too often, usually sitting about that purple buff spawn, never any further, because they're getting out pressured, as a Ymir and Cupid should be doing, and it makes Kiermi's job a lot harder. Once again, the purple buff getting looked at. This time, Shards of Ice going to be used for the confirm, and will go down, but here comes Erupt Crimson on the gank.
Crimson there. Gamma pulled back in a Fields of Love to zone away 3. Gamma will turn around for a double freeze and a wall, but Dudeman Bro has wrapped his way back around. No ult available to the Hunter, but they might not need it if Crim can land one more auto. And it's Dudeman Bro to pick up first blood for the SCC.
Yeah, Dudeman Bro was able to chase that one around. I was worried. I was like, Erupt Crimson really needs to beat this because that wall is going to get him out. But Dudeman Bro, he had the cutoff. He was like, I'm not going to sit here around this wall. I can walk around walls. And that was the exact play to make sure that the DPS was there. Unfortunately for Gamma, the Shards of Ice to confirm the purple buff may not have been the best call, needing some CC immunity there after the invade, but now the Eldritch Hounds are going to pull ahead just a little bit kills-wise and gold lead-wise. It's up to Oath now to use this elsewhere, of course, because now that he's got a little bit of wiggle room in that duo lane, he doesn't have to sit around. There's no need to babysit. He can look up to the right. He can try to get Kami ahead. There's so many different options.
Up on the Powwow as Kiermi needs to land one chain, but Oath will use the ultimate to make sure that he does not get pulled back in. A pressure to the Valkyries on the right side of the map. Greater Scorpion stolen away, and Quig will be locked down just long enough to make sure that it does go to the Valkyries. The Valkyries will use that time to close up a little bit of that gold lead. Not a whole lot, though. So this early game for the Eldritch Hounds, it's something that the Deaths brought up, and maybe makes this such a fun one to watch in these first 10 or so minutes, is the Valkyries have been a very aggressive team in their last couple of matches. Remember, tuning back over to not just the Oni Warrior set, but even the most recent Leviathan set. It was the Valkyries who were pulling these 5,000-6,000 gold leads only 15 minutes into a game.
Yeah, just a clashing of the exact play styles that you're discussing here. I mean, Oath loves to get active early, and he hasn't. It's mostly been the duo lane, and of course, Erupt Crimson rotating over to make sure that play goes through. But both of these junglers, Kiermi and Oath, love to find that early aggression. And in this game, they haven't quite been doing that, but I think just because they're both putting, you know, a little bit of feelers out, they're respecting the opposition. Kirmi, of course, can do a ton of damage even without that powwow. And, besides Oath getting his ult force, hasn't been active too much on this map either. We saw one little scrap around Totem of Ku at level 2, and that was pretty much it. So they are playing a very similar game here, and as the farm sort of goes through, we'll have to see where the rest of the aggression is put on the map. You could play through Dude Man Bro, because he does have that presence, and he should be caring about Fields of Love too much.
Gamma pulled in, 3-man rotation and a gank onto the support, and Gamma should go down to the ultimate from Oath as he charges in. He'll dismount from the horse, and with a rotation from Wowie, this could be a turnaround kill onto the jungler. Heart bomb there, and Kirmi will close out the kill and put the first one up for the Valkyries. A 1-for-1 trade for the teams.
Yeah, Quig definitely was looking to pop that ult there. Would have had the meditation after the fact, but the Fields of Love Mez was all it took. Now Aquarius finds the Eagles rally onto Erupt. Crimson forcing those beats and trying to steal this red buff.
Kirmi going on to Dude Man, but the Saprate is there. That will be the end of that fight. Maybe one over towards Quig if Aquarius is going to stick around for this long. Both solo laners fighting at a red buff 8 minutes in. It's a pull in onto Aquarius, up on the pow, loud for Kirmi. He'll yank Quig right back through, and Quig will throw up the ultimate on the wrong target. It hits Remakami instead. And now with Kirmi low, Remakami will turn around and find a kill. Another 1-for-1 trade out, and maybe even more as he's diving into 4 different players, but that disarm from Aquarius should spell the end of the fight.
Yeah, if Remakami de-transformed right at that moment, maybe a kill opportunity onto BennyQ just in case Gamma did pop that meditation, in case the dive went through. And now Oath, he's not really looking for a kill onto Wowie. He wants this purple buff, and the rest of the Valks are going to be able to rotate back in here. I'm not sure Oath has picked up on this yet.
Oath will double dash, and there's a wall from Gamma to lock him down. Dude-Man Bro is here, though.
I thought Benny was coming.
And that should be enough to stop that. No, Benny's all the way on the other side, in between the 2 towers at this point. So no rotation from the mid laner. 3-2 to start this one out, and the Eldritch Hounds are up early, 800 golden XP.
Yeah, and it looks like BennyQ is focusing more so on that farm. Could have had an opportunity to rotate over that purple buff, but decided to clear his own red and go back to wave. Now sitting at level 10, whereas Crim just ticked over to level 10. So a little bit of a farm happening in the mid lane, whereas BennyQ's like, hey, I'm giving you guys my passive. You got the Discordia passive. I don't actually have to be there to help out that much, right? Does have the 2 assists for the 2 kills, so he has been there, just not really committing too much damage when it's needed. I think pretty confident in when this Discordia does come online late game, almost building that Staff of Mirrodin there. Once that's finished, we're gonna see a little bit more damage coming out of that Discordia in mid.
We do see that passive is currently around the waist of Aquarius on that Bologna, who's just been boxing non-stop. And talk about the fact that we had an 8-minute rotation from the solo laners, even earlier technically, for that mid lane fight. But when both your solo laners are fighting at an enemy red buff 8 minutes in the game, Charlie, that just speaks volumes to me of how aggressive both of these teams want to play in this very early game.
Yeah, they're both looking to get active as much as possible. It seemed to me like the Valks could have went for that possible Pyromancer pull, but they're like, you know what, Greater Scorpion, probably the call here. It's still early on. We do have a fair bit of damage built, but Kirmi would love a Hydra's Lament before he starts making calls like that. And BennyQ, we already know he's not rotating just yet. Trying to get that Warlock stash stacked up before really making his presence known in these team fights. So back to the old farm game we go. I'm just paying attention to, again, both these junglers, where they are at, where they're positioned. And Kirmi looked for a second like you want to try for a gank on Remakami, but with no sort of easy opportunity to get a pull. Seems like just going towards mid and trying to see what's going on there. And Oath really, not really playing his normal style, as we've highlighted a couple times now. He's looked over at some possible ganks, but then just decided, okay, I'll go for the buff invade. I'm not going to force anything, and I think that's more of a testament to how safe the Valks are actually playing.
I mean, typically when I think of Oath, I'm thinking of Khalees, Bakasura, Eset, these very kind of in-your-face auto-attack style of gods. So seeing him on a much more ability-focused Lancelot, definitely a different look. It's the Hounds who started the Pyromancer, but with Aquarius here, that is enough to push all 3 members of the Hounds away from the neutral objective. A nice little call by the soul laner to recognize that nobody was on the map at the time. We'll slow that one down. But the Eldritch Hounds are the one with a very slight early lead. Like I said, a little under 1,000 gold, separating these 2 teams early. And it really just kind of feels almost like a throwback. I mean, when you think back, barely even, I was almost going to say barely 6 months ago, but I mean, we're looking back to Season 8 at this point, which was over 8 months ago. These were two SCC teams that were scrapping against each other. I mean, Eldritch Hounds formerly known as Sleekness, Valhalla Valkyries, Winter Dogs. So these guys know how each other like to play. We'll see if they can bring the heat up against the Pyromancer. Valkyries are the one who pull it. Quarter HP. Quig wants a chance to steal it. So does Remikami. The Valkyries will get the Pyro. Can they get a kill afterwards? Kyrmi doesn't grab anybody with that pal out. And now it's Bennycube isolated by the Eldritch Hounds, but a good golden apple will stop Quig from going aggressive. It'll bleed over to Remikami, and the Valkyries will get the objective and get out.
Yeah, we saw the massive grouping there. I was thinking, are the Hounds really going to chase this? They had the opportunity to say, hey, we're not going to chase that 2-hour. We're going to go for the Gold Fury pull. Now, they are making that choice, but I might be too little too late. Wowie's on the way here. They do have a fair bit of damage. It's going to be up to Supernova to confirm.
Wowie is close. Does have Fields of Love. Will drop it early, and a Heart Bomb on top. The Valkyries, Wowie, will steal away the Gold Fury. Throw a little laugh out there as well, as the Hunter for the Valks take away the objective from the Hounds and slow down their momentum. Look at the gold swing there. What was 1,000 up for the Hounds, now 1,600 and climbing for the Valkyries.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. That was still certainly in favor of the Hounds because it was essentially a 1v4, but it just seemed like they made that call a little bit too late. They recognized the Valks were on Pyro. You know, Quig goes for the steal. Dude Man Bro starts to rotate over. I feel like if they just pull the Gold Fury right as that happens, it definitely ends up as a net even or better for the Hounds. But unfortunately, they waited a little bit too long, thought maybe they could look for the aggressive play and try and fight or go for the steal. Didn't work out, and Wowie, just great sense of mind and great map knowledge, goes right to that objective, drops Fields of Love, and continues the DPS. Says, you guys can't reset this. I'm attacking it now. Gets the confirm, and is able to chuckle a little bit as he runs away. So now that gold lead that was in favor of the Hounds, looking very much in favor of the Valks. Not very much, I guess, you know, given this game, since it hasn't been that aggressive, 2K is a lot. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things, 2K is not going to be the biggest deal.
No, not this early in. Also just realized we have a B on B fight, because Wowie's using the B Cupid skin. In my opinion, the best skin. But that's just me.
The best Cupid skin, you're saying?
Yes, the best Cupid skin.
Yeah,
maybe not the best B.
Me and Gore were just talking about this because I was saying the baby Fuwa skin. Hold that thought. Kyrmi's going in.
Kyrmi goes up. Pal out does hit Crim. That gets the beads from 1. It should pull Quig in as well. Surrounded by 4. Golden Apple from Benny will lock down Quig. But a Scare's Blessing will keep him alive for how much longer? Eagles Rally plus the ult from the Ymir is enough to guarantee the kill. 1 up for the Valks. And Kyrmi will teleport as far away as he can, but Oath dashes in, gets frozen, and he's the one on losing in, except for Remikami finds a beautiful ultimate and turns the fight around for the Eldritch Hounds. Oath able to squeak his way by past the wall from Gamma and keep it at, yet again, Trelly, another 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, that's a 1-for-1 trade, but losing Kyrmi and losing Quig, I think, are two different options. You would much rather hold on to your jungler's life in a situation like that. So the Eldritch Hounds were able to find a little bit of a silver lining during that call, but you know, looking at the XP leads, Oath is now a level ahead of Kyrmi, but yeah, Quig is still 2 levels behind, and I think Gamma has been pretty on point here with these walls. That was a great Shards of Ice to make sure that that explosion did go through onto Quig. So if you're looking at your supports being able to live through these fights, both are 0-2 and 2, but Gamma's looking a little bit better in that situation. Has access to a second relic earlier on, and that's going to help a ton at this next fight for the Pyromancer and the Fury after the fact. But again, the gold lead not going to be that outrageous. You can still see the Eldritch Hounds are still able to fight back into these team fights.
And that's always the important part. When you're down, even if it's only down 2,000, you know, that's not a whole lot. That's a tier 1 item on a few players at that point. So not any kind of major lead towards anybody. But being able to consistently fight back, find these 1-for-1 trades, especially if you're getting a beneficial 1-for-1 trade. You know, losing your support, not so bad, especially if you can pick up the enemy jungler at that time. So the Eldritch Hounds making sure to keep pace with the Valkyries. But this isn't quite the explosive Valkyries that we've, and it's strange to say this, that we've grown more accustomed to as of recent. I mean, with their wins over the Oni Warriors, their 2 over the Levi's, I mean, this was a hit the ground running at minute 1 Valks, and they're going to hit the ground running at Quig as that wall is maxed out by Gamma. Quig will revive. Palau Chain off the mark for 1. Will pull Quig and Remikami in this time, but it's so much expended just to kill Quig. Do they have anything else for the fight after? Aquarius walled off by his own teammate, and Erupt Crimson will be the one to turn it around. Another 1-for-1 trade. Quig loses his life. but it's the solo laner for the Valks gone.
Yeah, this time much more worthwhile for the Hounds, because that's a 2-0 Aquarius who would have loved to live through that fight. Remakami teleports in to make sure that this tower does not go down, and Pyromancer spawning in here shortly. The Eldritch Hounds have to get aggressive on this objective right when it spawns in, because if not, Aquarius is going to be teleporting in about 20 seconds, and it looks like they know it's spawning in here shortly, and Remakami will be the one to pull. Gamma and Wowie and Kirmi, they're all here. They're all ready to try and defend this objective.
Pyromancer's going quickly. Is it going to be quick enough? Wow, will make sure to pick it up. A wall will be dropped down, and the Pyromancer this time goes to the Valkyries. Fields of Love used to keep Oath out, but it's Gamma who's isolated. Oath into the backline finds some good damage against BennyQ, and Remakami should be able to run this one down as Gamma loses his life on the retreat call from the Valkyries, but Aquarius goes back in. The Golden Apple will tag Remakami, but not going to be any further follow-up. It's a one-man trade out Gamma for the Pyromancer.
Yeah, and at that point, it's still going to be pretty worthwhile for the Valks. That 2K gold lead, a little bit under, is still in their favor, while the kills are slowly but surely going over to the Hounds. Last time we saw the Hounds pull this Fury, it didn't go well. Wowie was able to steal with Fields of Love. That ultimate, notably, is down, and the Hounds have the man advantage. Will they actually pull this is the question. Looking at their pathing, I'm going to say no. They're not going to decide to use the 4v5 to their advantage and just back off. But Remakami is going to stay here and play zone duty.
Taking a look at Wowie's build, it's been kind of interesting to see how the Hunter builds have started developing over the last couple of weeks of play. Transcendence has still been at least a staple for a lot of the Hunter builds, but there isn't any lifesteal on Wowie's end. His only form of sustain, a little bit from the Leather Cow, but mostly just from his hearts. I mean, how's this going to affect Wowie when we start getting to some of the more team fight-oriented play as this game goes on?
Well, as long as he's able to sit back and sustain his team with the honey, I don't think it's going to be that. You know, I should stop calling it the honey because
the honeycombs.
Yeah, there is a bee on the opposition, and his ability is literally called honey. So Wowie's hearts are going to help him out. We might have to hold that thought though, because this Fury's burning down quick.
Half HP on the objective. Gamma will wall off Quig, but it also keeps the rest of his team from going to that Fury. Can they trade support for yet another objective? No, they will not. The Hounds don't even lose out, at least for now. Aquarius to the back line to zone away Dude Man Bro. A jump out by Remakami, a transform, and another wall by Gamma will lock down the soul laner, but that Scarab's Blessing is up. Remakami will not be popped just yet. Barely makes that with a sliver of HP. He's not going to get there. Instead, it's Quig to trade out his life, but now it's 2 as Kirmi finds Dude Man Bro.
Yeah, and it might be another dive. It looks like not going to be the call. So Aquarius almost went for that tier 2 play, but the Valks, they're posturing towards something big, and it's not the Pyromancer. That's already down. This Fire Giant could be on the board here. 3v5. The Valks have no more ultimates to their name, but they do have that meditation if need be. The sustain will not be the problem, and they are going to make this pull. It's up to the Hounds to see who can get here in time, but Aquarius is playing zone duty.
Aquarius can only keep one person back at a time. Gamma doesn't realize that Crimson has wrapped around the top side of the Fire Giant. Stinger goes through, but it's not enough damage. A little too early from the B. The Valkyries get the Fire Giant on all 5. And no one from the Hounds will go down in an attempt of a chase. Kirmi low, but he'll be just fine. Big power play now for the Valkyries.
Yeah, it's not an easy call to make if you are Krim, but definitely could have found a kill on the Kirmi. I've just decided to, instead of go for the possible steal a little early, just for the damage. And I think that could have been a worthwhile trade. But when you show up to Fire Giant, you've got very limited time to just pick an ability and chuck it. I understand just, oh, it's low, I'm going to go for the steal. Didn't work out, and now the Hounds are about 4K gold down, and that's only going to get worse unless they can form some form of defense at these tier 2 towers. That left tier 1 is still up, but I don't imagine you want to make a call to defend that when you're down a fair bit. The Fire Giant buff has just went through, and you still have a fair bit of relics that are on cooldown. You would love for Crim's beads to be back up, because you only get one Scarab's Blessing. There's only one cleanse to be had for your whole team, and you got to make sure you're using it wisely. My money, I'm probably putting it on our up Crimson that you're cleansing that ult, because he doesn't have beats for another 100 seconds. Probably going to sit underneath the towers and actually split pushing down right, recognizing, hey, the Valks are probably going to push down left. We can get a little bit of extra gold before then. Aquarius is not going to make it easy, though.
Neither will BennyQ, as he has spotted out Oath in the mid lane. Or maybe he didn't even spot Oath. But at least for now, the Hounds will not continue their push on the right side, because they've now lost tier 1 and tier 2 in the left lane to the Valkyries. So now for the Hounds, as they've lost these towers, they still have a couple of tier 2s, most likely potentially going to be waiting on either a soft defense on those tier 2s or the Phoenix Sieges. What's that opportunity back for the Eldritch Hounds? Where do they find their success in these Sieges, Trelly?
They do have some great team fight options here. If Ramakami can blink in, get a massive knockup, followed by the cripple field from Oath. You know, Dude Man Bro still is doing a ton with those auto attacks. Pretty close to Telekines, but I don't think it's going to be up before this siege occurs. That'd be a massive power spike as well. Pretty much, just Quig has to live long enough to get a massive ultimate off. And then, you know, the consistent DPS. Crimson hasn't died for a reason. He's been able to output a ton of just tick damage with this AMC. If they're able to team fight underneath this Phoenix, it would be able to work in their favor so well. It's just all about the Valks. You know, are they going to split up the opposition? The Hounds would love to fight as a 5v5. That's where they are strongest. If the Valks just split up the map just a little bit, pick out Quig first, it could be rough.
Maybe Kirmi could pick out one. Nope, there goes Quig. No ultimate even available to him. He gets popped. And so does the tier 2 tower. Ramakami being chased out. Dude Man Bro now at the front line, but I don't think you want a front line against a full 5 stack of the Valkyries. That Emperor's Armor pickup by Gamma starting to pay off. Beads gone from Crimson. Ramakami's life bar gone as Aquarius finds the last swing. Dude Man Bro on his last lifeline. So many shells, so much healing will keep him just alive long enough. So the Valkyries cannot find that pick, but it's 2 and a Phoenix for the Valkyries.
Yeah, I really think Quig would get a lot of value out of a Beads or a Magi's Blessing, but just not on the cards at the moment. Looks like was forced into trying to get a Shoguns for the team. Would have loved some CDR for these Scarab's Blessing, but having your Khepri get picked first in every single fight, every wall by Gamma has just been the absolute end of this Khepri. A Phantom Shell also would go a long way, but Crimson and Dude Man Bro have not been able to upgrade theirs yet. They really have no option to keep this Khepri alive, and if Quig dies, you lose so much value. You don't get a second life for one of your carries, and that just means that these team fights are not going in your favor. Now the Valks are about to hit that threshold, that 10k gold threshold. Notably, that right side bird going down is, you know, the best one to lose if you are a Hounds fan. It's not going to be the biggest deal to try and defend up against this next Fire Giant that's spawning in. However, you know, I don't imagine the Hounds can really step up in the jungle safely. One wall from Gamma, I mean, they're just locked in. They really can't escape in that sense. So Crimson definitely can't go in. Oath maybe, Ramakami maybe. They do have some options to get over that wall and escape. But if Quig steps up to ward at the wrong moment, this whole game could end.
Kind of the downside for the Hounds' support right now is because Quig has been the sacrificial lamb for his team. Okay, guys, well, I died, but we killed Aquarius. Well, I died, but we killed Kirmi. Or I died, but we got an objective. You're starting to see where that's paying off. Is he's been able to upgrade his relics, but yeah, has hardly any defense to his name at this point. I mean, Mail of Renewal, a lot of HP. Sovereignty, a lot of HP, but unfortunately for him, he's going up against an HP shred style of build by the Valkyries. Quig has just not been able to stay alive in these fights long enough. You saw how fast he popped during that tier 2 siege by the Valkyries moments ago. Now it's time for the Hounds to step up at the Fire Giant. What is the key pick that the Hounds need to get in order to try and find success in this fight?
I mean, they just need to survive so we can actually see how their team fight looks. Once Quig gets picked, more often than not, the fight just ends. And then we already saw Gamma had the wall go up and down, so there is an opportunity here for the Valks to try and go for this objective. And the Hounds need to get in now if they're going to defend.
Someone's got to go. Ramakami's the closest. The Fire Giant leashed. Oath's Aegis has been burned away, and he'll have to use the horse to get out. But Gamma's already got Ramakami. Quig gets pulled right back in, and the Scare's Blessing will keep him alive for only a moment's notice. It'll be Wowie to close that one out. 2 kills and a triple freeze, but Oath has found one during all of this. And it's Kirmi, the jungler, falls down for the Valkyries. But how far can the Hounds go? Wall just off the mark by Gamma. But a dive in by Wowie gets both beads from the carries. But there's no Phoenix there to defend either of them. A Stinger will stop Gamma. With Benny missing out on those abilities, doesn't seem the Valkyries want to continue the push.
Yeah, the Valks didn't opt to go for that Fire Giant. Tried to chase this instead. Getting the beads down on Crim and Dude Man Bro, certainly valuable. But now you have to try to go for a Fire Giant pull when your carries are pretty weak. Your tanks are also pretty weak. Wowie and Aqua do have some healing to go through with the Death's Embrace and the Honeycombs being dropped. And it looks like the Valks are just going to back up here. I was going to say, this is a risky call to make. And now you're in a situation where the Hounds are pretty far down in gold, but they're actually going to pull this Fire Giant. The Valks cannot back here.
Benny, 30% health, Gamma half. Is the best chance for the Hounds to fight back in. And Oath by Oath, a dismount immediately. But he brings the Heart Bomb over to Dude-Man. Bro, the stun is just too good. It's a double kill for Wowie. And the Eldritch Hounds are now on the run as one small misstep by Oath goes sour for the Eldritch Hounds, and it's now the Valkyries who can go right back to the Fire Giant.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those situations that you never want to see. You're just like, hey, I have to get out. Sorry, here comes the Heart Bomb. Get both of your carries killed in that sense. But Crimson still alive, notably. There is still one bastion of defense, and it's this AMC. The Valks are able to push down right and get this right side bird once again. I don't think the Hounds are even going to step up. This is a defend the Titan moment for the Eldritch Hounds. And let me tell you, J-Mag, it is not going to be easy. The only relic you have to your name is that the Hasten Wings and a shell that's not even upgraded. Crimson has his work cut out for him.
With 5 versus 3 at the mid Phoenix now. And the Emperor's Armor from Gamma putting in the work. No defense put up by the Hounds. The right bird fell. The mid one will go down as well. And I don't imagine that left one has much time left on its life either. The Eldritch Hounds are now seriously on the back foot of defense. A 14K gold deficit, 28 minutes into the game, and ever climbing for the Valkyries. The Eldritch Hounds have really got to find a solid defense on this left Phoenix, or it could be their last.
Well, finally, Dude Man Bro does upgrade that Phantom Shell for the team's sake. These walls from Gamma have been the go button, and once those walls come through, some kills are to be had. So now the Eldritch Hounds do have one line of defense if just a clutch wall goes up from Gamma. It might be too little too late when you're looking at this gold lead. Certainly not going to get any easier. However, one stop here from the Hounds could mean some comeback potential. They have one more Phoenix left to go. They do have a fair bit of damage online. The builds, however, are just looking so staggered. I mean, Quig has 3 items to his name. Gamma is working on the last, already has the upgraded starter item as well. Benny Q's been full build for a while. 0-0 and 11. Just essentially just setting up for the team and, you know, doing some damage in the process. Never getting those last hits, but, you know, he's happier for it. He's making sure that his whole team is online. Now the Hounds have, they're in dire need of some damage. They're in dire need for some engage, really. The front line has just been non-existent. Remakami, look a lot tankier, I would say 20 minutes ago. Now, it's not looking too good. You got one more bird left, and here come the Valks.
Potentially the last defense of the Hounds. Quig gets walled away. Frenzy is popped. The Valkyries are splitting their attention. Wowie on the bird, the rest of the team on Quig, and now the rest of the team on the fight. Remakami hit by the apple, locked in the fields of love, and Benny will get his first kill of the game and the first kill of the fight. Quig locked behind the wall and can't even get out of the stun in time to bring himself back to life. The Valhalla Valkyries in the throne room of the Eldritch Hounds are just a few thousand HP away from taking game number 1 away from the Hounds, and it'll start off strong for the SPL.
I mean, the Hounds did look pretty strong in the early. They found themselves the kill lead and a little bit of the gold lead, but like I said at the beginning, I'm pretty sure the Valks were much more confident in their late game team fight, their 5v5 as a squad, and the duo lane from the Valks. We've been harping on it time and time again, but you can't let the whoop it through, man. It's just been too detrimental. The Fields of Love stealing the Gold Fury, getting both beats time and time again, as well as the Heart Bombs. Just a little bit too much.
What can you say? The whoop it has come in strong for the Valkyries time and time again throughout these last couple of weeks of SPL, and it comes up strong in game number 1 for the Valkyries. The Eldritch Hounds, though, putting up a very strong early fight against them, even getting a little bit of a lead up against the Valkyries to start it out. The Eldritch Hounds may be down from game number 1, but certainly not out. And again, this isn't the only set of games they'll play. It is double elimination through these brackets. So even with a loss to the Valkyries, still have a chance to continue fighting back in this bracket. We're going to take a break for game number 1. When we come back, game number 2.
But he had the horsey, and horsey, don't you stop! Fido care!
I gave up dabbing for Lent.
Cool. No more dabbing for Final. He looked at me and said, I'm going to be on that stage next year. I'm going to become a world champion. Ripping through! Titan down, ball 3! A double kill myself!
too close to the edge now. Only thing they got is toxicity. Think you need a cleanse, clear the out. You got their backs, but they ain't got yours. You've done enough, but they still want more. You've been a good friend down to the core. Oh, hold up, baby, don't take it. It ain't friendship if they just fake it. You don't need to put up with their bullshit. Tell them no, 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 no. Hold up, baby, don't stress it. It ain't worth it, and you won't miss it. You don't need to put up with their bullshit. Tell them no, 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 no. Girl, it's time you put yourself first. Go and get the love you deserve. Stop by screaming out the word. No, 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 no. Don't let anyone put you down. Stand up straight and hold your head high. Stop by saying it out loud. No, 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 no. Yeah. Tell 'em no, 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 no. Yeah. Tell 'em no, 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 no. Hold up, baby, don't take it. It ain't friendship if they just fake it. You don't need to put up with their bullshit. Tell 'em no, 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 no. Hold up, baby, don't stress it. It ain't worth it, and you won't miss it. You don't need to put up with their bullshit. Tell 'em no, 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 no. Hold up, baby, don't take it. It ain't friendship if they just fake it. You don't need to put up with their bullshit. Tell 'em no, 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 no. Hold up, baby, don't stress it. It ain't worth it, and you won't miss it. You don't need to put up with their bullshit. Tell 'em no, 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 no. I feel good, yeah. I feel good when I'm with you, darling. Just like I should, yeah. I feel good when I'm with you, darling. It's crazy how things change, yeah. I feel good when I'm with you, darling.
Well, you end up getting to see the Hounds put up a good fight, but the Valkyries still come out on top here for game number 1. It's Gorr and Mifflin one more time, and we're going to break this one down. It feels like the Valkyries had a pretty good advantage at the beginning. Going into this, we were talking about the draft, the walls, a lot of control. And some of those fights, admittedly, Mifflin went that way. Some of those fights did not, and the Hounds put up a much better, I think, early fight than maybe either of us expected. I expected it to be a little more Valks heavy, but they put up a lot of strong punches. You did say, though, I think going into this, that at 10 minutes you expected the game to be decided. It might not have been exactly 10 minutes, but it was still a very active game early on.
Yeah, I think it was that first objective, that Gold Fury, that where Wowie had just walked up, essentially 1 versus 4, drops Fields of Love, drops Heart Bomb, and takes it away. Yeah, this one right here. And I'm thinking to myself, man, first off, shouldn't have happened. Secondly, well, there goes the momentum. And essentially from that point, it was the Valhalla Valkyries in the driver's seat just for the rest of the match. I thought individually, like, everyone from the Eldritch Hounds had okay performances, but compositionally, this draft just did not make a whole lot of cohesive sense to me. The Valhalla Valkyries, in getting that Ymir, just kind of slammed a whole lot of what the Eldritch Hounds had gone for. And then they, like, pick more gods into the Ymir that struggled, namely that Lancelot. And I think Lancelot might be the keystone of this composition from the Eldritch Hounds that really struggled. How often did we see Oath go into that ultimate, make his way into the backline, and say, oh, I didn't one-shot them, oh no, and also I'm alone because nobody can keep up with me. Yeah, this one right here. He also gets DMB caught out on that firewall. And from there, the Valkyries just dominant across the map. Clean play. Once the Valkyries do establish their lead, they don't take any risks on the map, whereas the Eldritch Hounds, no stranger to taking risk. Remember, even in that last Fire Giant fight we just saw, it was actually the Hounds that had pulled it out first.
Yeah, they were trying. And they did well. Nothing feels worse, though, pulling the Heart Bomb and bringing it right to your teammates. And unfortunately, Oath learned that the hard way this game. 5-0-7 there for Wowie. Fantastic assist column as well for Beniku and Gamma there. Good damage out of Aquarius and Beniku as well. So a lot of fun that gets to be picked up here for the Valkyries. Although, again, I even mentioned it to Gamma. Him and Beniku were walking past as we came into the sound studio. And I was like, I saw the Ymir. And I was like, okay, so it's going to be that kind of game. And he goes, yeah, it's still pretty sloppy, though. And so maybe even for them thinking that they want to pick it up. I think I remember seeing Benny tweet out this morning, though, that he was on either no sleep or very little amounts of sleep. One of the two.
That's on him, man.
That
We knew about this event.
Yeah, and that he was going to have to stock up on some caffeine.
He looks tired now that you bring it up.
And maybe that's a look. I mean, he had some really good damage, but maybe that's why he wasn't as pop-offy as in the highlight reel there. He's too tired.
Yeah, maybe get 8 hours. That's
sleep.
Pretty standard. I'd argue. That's what I'd be doing if I had a big event coming up. But I suppose when you're as dominant as you are and being the SPL team, maybe you don't need all that sleep.
Well, we'll see how much that affects them here in game number 2. Valks, this time around, are going to be your first pick team. They banned out the Emoja, the Eset, and the Nemesis in game number 1. We also know wholeheartedly that they'll be willing to first pick Cupid if they get the opportunity.
It's got to get banned, right?
Yeah, either banned out here by the Hounds, or I'm going to argue and call first pick for the Valks if it's not.
Yeah, I mean, the Valkyries will take it first overall. Maybe the Hounds, I mean, they show that they don't value the Cupid nearly as highly as the Valkyries do. They had the opportunity in game 1, the Hounds that is, to take it for themselves instead. Even dedicating a ban to their own AMC, yeah, I mean, if that's not going to be flanked by a Cupid down there, I think you're right to say that the Valkyries very well could take it for themselves.
And if it is flanked by a Cupid, then you're letting through like Osiris, the Xing Chen from last time still
I
available?
think I might prefer to have either of those to the Cupid.
Oh, yeah.
That god has been
The
looking
Whoopid.
real good.
Yeah. What was his win rate? I'd have to go look it up, but his win rate at the end of the SBL week was still pretty ridiculously high.
Like mid-70s?
Yeah, and so maybe it would make sense. Even with the AMC, I think maybe not being the most prominent god. Throw the Cupid down there, too, and make sure he's under a little bit of control. He said, oh, no, the Valks actually ban it. Okay. What a wild twist.
Maybe the Valks don't want it
I don't
first
know.
overall.
That's insane to me.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like their pick.
Generally, they do just take it regardless, but perhaps concerned about some of the counter matchups out there. Now Osiris is banned at the bottom. Where do the Valks go? In that first pick selection is the Xing Shen, this time going unbanned. Will get picked up very early on. Has good flex potential, could either support or solo. Either way, gonna have a whole lot of HP regen, which means that you can play aggressively in either one of those 2 lanes. Phenomenal AoE CC, puts good deal of threat onto just about anybody's defensive relics. Other notable picks that are still available, the Raven's still out there. You can still move in towards standard mid lane selections. Feels like Discordia has been really, really popular recently. Maybe we see the Hounds take that for themselves. Instead, Bologna and Nemesis. Bologna should be able to hold her own in lane. We saw what they were capable of in the previous match. Death Stool and a Death's Embrace.
Yeah.
Plus Scourge, pretty hard to deal with her. She's just going to sustain the majority of poke you send her way. Nemesis could make it a little bit easier to deal with this linear initiation from the Xing Chen. Oh, he's leaped in at us. I wonder what he's going to do. Probably Whirlwind of Rage and Steel. Maybe I remove his defense. Seems like a pretty flowchart style there.
Yeah. Tend to know a lot about a Xing Chen based on his playstyle. In fact, maybe not even based on his playstyle. You know a lot about a Xing Chen because he's Xing Chen.
That's right.
Like,
There's one way to play that game.
Yeah, he's got a playbook that is 1 page long, and it just says go. So we'll see how that ends up working. Chernobog locked in for the Valkyries alongside the Morgan. And I feel like this is something we've seen a couple times for the Valkyries overall, but not usually their go-to. And something that I think lately, especially when you add in maybe factor 2 Whirlwinds of Rage and Steel, 2 Chernobog capabilities of rotation, feels like they could kind of be all over the map if they want to be.
Yeah, very Titans-esque in the top 3 from the Valkyries. Double Chernobog means that no matter what, the Eldritch Hounds will never have a numbers advantage in the team fight. So long as one Chernobog is on the map, he can join, and well, if the Morgan is up, she could join as well. Ymir locked in third overall for the Hounds. Morgan and Chernobog both going to struggle up against those walls. Some of the most priority picks that are still available also will struggle against those walls as well. We know that Kirmi in particular, one that is very likely to go towards things like the Erlong Shen, maybe now this Ymir selection, will dissuade him a bit from moving towards that lacking leap assassin. So we'll have to keep our eyes on the bans, whether or not the Eldritch Hounds feel like they even want to deal with it, could just take it off the table themselves. Instead, Daji taken off the board. And that makes perfect sense to me. You've already got the AoE CC from Jingshen, means that your beads are probably on cooldown in these late game team fights. Probably don't want to get PAL out.
Yeah, on the other side, Yu Huang, Discordia, banned out by the Valkyries, which feel more or less meta picks, but also something we know Crimson can play very well. And that the Morgan probably wouldn't be too happy matching up into anyway. So that's going to feel pretty good for them. You had mentioned it, though, Erlong available. Not necessarily something the Hounds would pick up.
What you aim at.
But maybe locked in here for the Valkyries. Chiron, locked in for the Hounds. We've been seeing them scattered here and there. You know, a couple weeks ago was top of the top. I mean, locked in almost first pick every time by majority of the SPL teams. Fallen off in terms of priority, but still has a lot of good damage behind him.
Yeah, and with some of this new itemization that we've been seeing again, the Transcendence, the Dominance, both pretty popular right now. I feel like Chiron in a decent position to go for this heavy penetration style of build. So I think itemization does fit him a bit. Highly aggressive dueling for the Hounds between this Chiron and Ymir means that Chernobog plus Jingshen might have decent survivability, but I don't think they're likely to win out in the actual 2v2, so kill pressure should belong to the Hounds in the long lane. You've got pretty decent scaling come mid to late game as well with the Nemesis. Of course, Bologna, very strong against these auto attackers. Surket needs to pop that poison, disarm. Chernobog just lands, has his stem fully charged up, disarm. So I think Bologna will find some pretty decent value here. It's just about weathering the storm, man. With all that rotation power from the Valks, just from the Chernobog on its own, not even taking into account the Chernobog plus Morrigan, going to be pretty hard to deal with throughout the early portions.
So King Arthur gets locked in. That's not a huge surprise. King Arthur's kind of been running the show for the last week or so. Surket gets locked in. And when we've been seeing Surket lately, even though things got gotten changed, normally she was Surket, or sorry, in the support. Maybe that's just, Surket, who was support Surket. I was doing the amalgamation. No, it's in the jungle this time around, which was the intent with all those changes that hit her a while ago.
Aggro crying tears of joy.
Yeah, we haven't seen it, or if we have, it's been very rare. How do you feel about Surket in the jungle?
I've always been a fan of Surket jungle. I think
How do you feel about Aggro's tears?
I'm pretty happy. Anytime he's crying is a good day for me. Look, Surket in the jungle is going to have very good, just clear on the buffs themselves. She doesn't really need to go towards the Golden Blade like we see from these other junglers that are trying to maintain pace. Instead, that first ability likely will just like one-shot buff, so around level 6. The gank's very, very strong. You've got some pretty decent targets you could look towards. Bologna, we were talking about her sustain. Doesn't work if you've been hit by Last Breath. We talk about Nemesis and her ability to, either play that hit and run style. Hey, I'm going to run in with Slice and Dice. I'm going to dash away. Nobody's getting away from Surket if she wants to chase you down. That's how mobile that god is. And then gods like the Chiron apply that dot. Oh, sure, you're death immune in Centaurus. What if I just put some true damage dot damage on you? It probably just works out.
And it gets locked in against a Kukulkan. So you have a mage that does a lot of damage. Admittedly, we've been seeing a lot more of in this year, I think, than years past. But against someone who can just chase him down, even better than him, junglers, it feels like that's going to be somewhere that, Surket in the jungle specifically is going to be able to get a lot of free pressure.
Yeah, so, free pressure? I'm not so certain about that, right?
Okay, Tornado hurt.
Yeah, Tornado
Zephyr hurt.
Hey, I'm going to jump on your back, but also, you're just standing in your own Tornado. And also, what's Kukulkan doing in the laning phase? Sit on my tower line, waves here, walk up, Tornado. I'm going to head back to my tower line, rinse, repeat. Maybe once in a blue moon, I'll throw a Zephyr at a back camp or something. It's pretty difficult to gank the Kukulkan in particular, unless it's double Surket. That might be pretty nice. Doesn't really feel great to have a Morgan maxed out second ability Surket, though.
I guess we'll figure out how well this works out for the Valks, how well the Hounds work out here. Can they push us to game number 3? Let's go down to J-Mac and Trelly and find out.
Can the SCC squad bring us to game number 3, or the Valkyries just going to run away with this one in game number 2? A much safer composition, to say the least, at least for the mid laner of the Eldritch Hound. Complete swap from what we saw in game number 1. Charlie was an Amuzen comp for Crimson. Now going to something almost kind of completely opposite on that scale of the dynamic. J-Mac, Charlie, and Doug are back again for game number 2. And how do you feel about the Kukulkan against this very aggressive style of jungle pick?
I can draw some comparisons to the AMC. You know, it's they both lack CC immunity, both have movement speed in the kit, good solid burst ultimate, as well as long-ranged artillery mid laners. So same exact style. I expect to see pretty much the same thing. But joking aside, I do think there's a lot of CC that the Valks have, and into a matchup like Serket, you can kind of pre-Spear of the 9 Winds if you feel like you're about to get ulted, and you know, obviously Serket has to like, you know, jump on top of you to get that ultimate off, and you can just get free damage that way. So I do think the matchup here can be pretty solid. Your one issue is obviously, you know, you don't have that CC immunity. You're up against the Xing Chen, a Serket, possibly 2 Serkets as the game goes on, and the survivability has to come into question. But, you know, we'll have to see how Erupt Crimson decides to itemize. If you're just going full damage, maybe you peel with yourself with some damage. If you are going like a double stacking build with Book of the Dead, well, then you got some survivability that way.
We'll see where the junglers will like to put their pressure in this game. It started out over in solo. It never really made its way over to the mid lane. It was kind of just floating for Oath and Kierme on these two teams as they kind of went through fight after fight, not really putting up deaths. It was mostly just the duo pressure itself out of the Valkyries that were able to find some early net, even for the Eldritch Hounds to be able to get something going. We'll start seeing some of that early pressure. But this Xing Chen has been seeing a lot of priority in the picks and bans at the SPL level and seeing it locked in for Gamma now. We'll have to see exactly how he can perform it and really utilize on some of these burnt beads by Kierme later on.
Yeah, notably, Gamma did start the Horrific Emblem, so that slow could come into play here when trying to kill Quig, for example. A very immobile Ymir could really not like getting Horrific Emblem into some auto attacks from Wowie into the full combo. Early on, however, just not enough lane pressure. The Bluestone Chiron definitely getting the better end of the trade. You know, Wowie's just going to have a hard time clearing the way for quite some time as Penny just taunts around.
Such
I mean, just
annoying thing to
spamming
do.
the one ability. And Crimson, he can't do anything. What can you do into that? You just have to sit back and be like, I can put tornadoes down. Like, soon I'll be able to do something.
That is exactly what my teammates do in every game that I have with them, Morgan, is I'm standing by them just trying to help out, and they're spamming that stun, canceling it, or if they're playing a Muzenkov, they're like doing the honey animate, like the startup for the honey animation, they're just constantly canceling it. So annoying to do, but it's one of those factors to maybe get into your teammate, not your teammates, your enemy's head. Sometimes it gets to your teammate's head as well, but kind of one of those annoyance factors to really put the pain in like they're putting towards Kierme right now as he jumps away. Blue buff secured for the Valkyrie solo laner, so for now Aquarius won't have to worry about any kind of mana issues as he can go pick that one up.
Yeah, and Oath did show some face on towards that blue buff. Got there a little bit late, unfortunately, and we'll just go back. I was wondering if we were going to see some aggression on the left side of the map, but we already highlighted the Valks don't have too much presence. That Horrific Emblem did get popped, but unfortunately for the Valks, they're not going to be able to confirm their purple buff. They got the blue, but this purple not going to be going their way. So successful invade, and Doomembro and Quig are just going to sprint on back to their own buff, try to confirm it before any sort of face is shown. I was going to say, though, Oath was going over towards that blue. Unfortunately, doesn't get a chance to get it. You would think would love to put some pressure over on that left side of the map, play through this duo lane. You have this Ymir on your side now, but unfortunately, when you do have that Ymir, that also means the opposition probably sitting under their tower. Pretty difficult to gank like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure for the Eldritch Hounds duo lane. It's going to be a little bit of time before Wowie's really able to kind of be on his own over here, but putting that global pressure in the duo lane, it's something that we always talk about on death segments, even when we get into games with these Chernobyls, is would you rather have them in mid so they're right there ready to go for the action? Or would you rather have them over in the duo lane so they can get the maximum benefit, at least from that ultimate? It seems that the Valkyries want to be able to make sure that Wowie can split push as often as possible.
Well, Crimson actually backed and went for the Chalice of Healing. We see this picked up a fair bit, but I'm surprised picking it up a 4 Book of Thought. That forgoes your power spike on Cuckoo. Pretty hard here, and actually, Kierme I saw lurking on the left side of the map. I was going to say, the Valks are pushed up a ton, and when a composition like this is pushed up to tower line, if you're the Eldritch Hounds, that should be an instant marker like, hey, there was probably a Serket pretty close by. Now that they're backing up and we've hit level 5, I don't think Kierme's going to be sitting around here. But once again, Oath is looking towards this blue buff. Last time, a failed invade. Maybe this time, get to strip that one away from Aqua.
On the way is Kierme. Blue buff does get stolen, and immediately Remikami and Oath will back away. They don't want to stick around to pick it up. They'll just go with their success of stripping away that blue buff from Aquarius. So for the King Arthur, It'll be a little bit harder to spam those abilities in lane. Now it's Dudeman and Quig who are pushing Wowie and Gamma back to the enemy tower line. I think you're right to call the fact that both these dual lanes have been pushed so far up on these tower lines, but we've seen zero presence from the jungler or the mid so far this early game.
Yeah, it really just depends on who's getting pushed. Because if Dudeman Bro and Quig are at the tower line and Kirmi's nearby, that could easily be a death sentence, right? Both of these characters pretty immobile. If you can catch the giddy up from Dudeman Bro with any myriad of the CC that Kirmi has it built into the Circuit kit, there's going to be some trouble there. The meditation, not going to be too useful when a last breath is on him, so you just have to watch your positioning. And it seems like the Hounds are only pushing up when Kirmi has been spotted on the map. When Krim's saying, hey, I see Kirmi in mid, sort of looking at the Scorpion here, the greater Scorpion, you guys are fine. When that's being called out, they're free to push. When not, hey, maybe we should stay back because we have no idea where that Circuit is, and she can pretty much traverse the whole map in like 10 seconds.
For now, I mean, we're 6 minutes in almost. We haven't seen any kills, at least not yet. Good double taunt from Kirmi. We'll push Oath and Quig away from that potential fight. Greater Scorpion will go over to the Eldritch Hounds, at least the one on their side of the map. And I'm curious as the level priority of Quig this time around, because in the previous game, Gamma was maxing that one out, or he's maxing the wall out early on. For now, it's just a couple of points in that second ability. I'm curious as to if it'll be a freeze max by Quig first, or if it would be that wall.
Yeah, the wall, when it gets a ton of value, definitely great to max. Really, the only one who's not loving it is Aquarius. BennyQ, of course, doesn't appreciate it either, but if the ultimate is there, you can just transform into someone who has a better matchup into the wall, someone who can just leap over, like Kirmi, for example. So I don't imagine too many points is going to get you that much value as the game goes on, whereas freeze, that extra CC, I think, goes a long way here. If you're up against, like, a Khepri, then, oh yeah, you're getting tons of value maxing that wall. I just don't think it's going to bring too much to the table. The ice carpet, it just does so much damage. Even just base Ymir damage is going to be enough to make sure you're confirming buffs like that. And Quig actually does get the beads, and BennyQ has to back up.
BennyQ does transform into the Chiron to dash away. Gamma finds a nice ult on 2, and now BennyQ is the one to return some of those Centaurus shots right back. With BennyQ now beadsless for another 2.5 minutes. Seems that could be a perfect target for Oath to go to next year rotation.
Or the Gold Fury, it looks like. The Eldritch Hounds have Spirit of the 9 Winds locked and loaded. They're going to make this pull. Only Gamma is going to be there in time, but now Wowie, he stole it last time. Let's see.
This has got to be an easy confirmation for the Hounds. You have that mid laner ultimate, but he fires it too early. And Gamma and Wowie, the dual lane of the Valkyries, step up yet again and steal away one of the earliest Gold Furies that we have seen in recent competitive.
I mean, I saw the grouping. I love the play. You have the best confirm on the map, bar none. But you gotta know your damage numbers. I mean, you can hover over Spear of the 9 Winds and see about how much damage it's gonna do. Subtract a bit for protections, and you should have a pretty good confirm. Not gonna be the case. And Gamma steals that one away with Furious Roar. Unfortunate play there by the Hounds. I really liked the aggression there. I liked where their head was. The execution, unfortunately, not going to be the call. And now, the Valks have themselves a nice little solid gold lead. No kills have been had just yet, but the objective fight, before the Pyromancer and Fire Giant even spawn in, going in favor of the Valks.
1,200 gold, about 1,000 XP up for the Valhalla Valkyries with that objective steal. No kills still, just yet in this early game. But at least for the Valkyries being able to take an objective away. Now, 2 objectives, 2 Fury stolen by the dual lane, 1 for Wowie and 1 for Gamma. And if we rewind back to phase 1, I mean, this is the lane that we talk about the most of needing to get that step up. Once that Wowie and Gamma finally can get their stride, this Valkyries team can feel like a much more holistic team. And phase number 2 was spent getting that build up for these guys. They joined in the studio with the rest of their teammates. And now we're getting to see the fruits of all that labor. The duo of the Valhalla Valkyries has really stepped up in phase 2, and you can see the fruits of that labor.
Oh yeah, you can definitely see they've tightened up for sure, and I think their play off each other, right? Just Gamma and Wowie as a lane has also been looking super solid. They can find those aggressive plays, and they can force out some objective pressure on the map. Plays like that can only open up. And again, this was a Hounds pull because they had the pressure, but just the rotation in was all it took. They knew their damage numbers, and they were able to steal that one away. Once again, though, a little bit of a brawl towards these Harpies. Looking at Gamma's build, same sort of style with that Mail of Renewal, but going into what I'm assuming is the Chronos Pendant, so not going to be too tanky. Has the HP 5, has the HP built, But, you know, if some of this CC connects, there could certainly be some opportunity to try to look after the kill in Gamma. And actually, Quig does start to put those points into the wall as the build goes through. Just not wanting it early, wanting a little bit more damage, maybe to invade some camps, look at these Harpies, force out relics. Now that that's been done, Quig's going to start to put that wall up just a little bit longer.
A little bit of poke from BeniQ in mid. As this early Fury did go to the Valkyries, the momentum is now in their favor. A slight shift up from kind of this even pacing that we've been seeing throughout the early portions of the game. But still very quiet out of Kyrmi. Once that Gold Fury was started up on the other side, we did see Kyrmi go for an invade at the speed buff, steal at least one of them away from Oath, never made his way back up for a second rotation. But we haven't really seen a whole lot of activism, at least out of these two junglers just yet. Instead, it's a full team being active for the Valkyries around the Pyromancer. First a Gold Fury, and now a Pyro. This lead, and this is what was winning the Valkyries games up against the Warriors, up against the Leviathans, was this objective-minded early farm play, and it's netted nearly a 2,700 gold lead.
And it's just knowing the positioning of the enemies without having to know exactly where they are, right? You know, the Hounds are heading left over to that red buff. You're going to have plenty of time to pull the Pyromancer. No vision on the map on that side, and the Valks are able to get a clean pull onto the Pyro and push that gold lead even more so. Both of these junglers, as you said, haven't been, you know, too active, not too much damage done just yet, but just some attempted invades, things like that. But, you know, the objective pressure from Kyrmi, from the Valks in total, has definitely been working in their favor. Kyrmi, the first one on that Pyromancer, probably called it out. Hey, there's no one here. They're not going to be here in time. Looking at the farming of the XP as well. I mean, BeniQ ticking over to level 12. Going to have a great old time here. As Oath sort of looked at a gank and then was like, that's a tanky. No, there's no way. We're not going for that gank. Let's go for a possible blue. Oh, that's down. Okay, bye. I wasted my time.
He looked over and saw a double-digit level 12 King Arthur to his single-digit level 9 on Nemesis, and maybe thought twice about a gank up against Aquarius. Though a little bit low on mana at that time, wouldn't have had too many abilities that he could have spammed in order to try and get away, but considering maybe how close he was to that tower line. So now for Oath being as far behind as he is, Erupt Crimson even falling down a level and a half or so to BeniQ, is there a place for Oath to maybe try and make an impact for the Hounds, or does he just have to stick to farm mode for the next 5 or so minutes?
Yeah, I think itemization is going to be key here. Once Oath gets access to that hi-rez, and then I'm assuming the next item could certainly be the Erendite. There's a lot of stealth to be dealt with by the Valks, and I think it's just an item that really makes BeniQ's life so much more difficult. Once that Nemo gets popped, you speed up, you know exactly where the Mori is, and you can just chase her down with your auto attacks. Once that comes through, and more so if that comes through, the Hydra's definitely, but the Erendite after the fact, I think Oath has a much better time. There's no real clear kills for him on the map. We saw him look over at solo lane, go, okay, Aquarius is level 13, has Sov and Glad Shield, and I'm a level 9 Nemesis. There's no way I'm killing him. Okay, I'm going to leave. Then you go to mid and realize, BeniQ has the transformation, both relics, nobody's forcing that. Okay, I'm going to go away again. There's just not enough damage online for Oath to make these calls just yet. He needs to sit back and farm. He's doing exactly what he needs to do.
Dude, man, bro, under fire. Wowie. And Kyrmi should be able to find a kill onto this Kyra and an ult to try and send some damage back. But Dude Man will pop, and the first blood, 13 minutes in, will go to the Valkyries. Is there any follow-up for the Hounds? Maybe a pick or at least some damage towards Gamma, but that Xing Chen also very healthy. Not enough for Oath to be able to chop through. It's the Valkyries who finally start this game off.
I think Dude Man Bro had a lot of different ways to play that. He had 3 forms of CC immunity. He had beats, Aegis, and ult. And unfortunately, I think just got a little bit outplayed there. Maybe a little bit outplayed himself. Used the cleanse a little bit too late. You know, used the beads and Aegis, but still got taunted back in. Pre-beads might have been able to save him. Unfortunately, falls down. And double relics. I expect to see Kyrmi back, and I want to see Kyrmi back in that lane, looking for another gank on a Dude Man Bro. Once that comes through, which it should come through pretty easily, Oni Fury just gets opened up wide. I mean, there's no sort of long-range steal potential on that side of the map, unless, of course, Erupt Crimson makes the rotation in, but there's plenty of opportunity to zone him out. There's a lot of damage here. Aqua could make the rotation over, has the teleport. I mean, the ball is in the Valk's court.
Now with the Valkyries at 4,500 gold. I mean, it was sitting pretty even for a while. And then you see a tiny little bump at 7, and then this slow incline up that the Valkyries have built over the Eldritch Hounds. This slow pacing is not one that typically favors many of the North American squads. And when we think of the NASCC, Charlie, we're thinking minute 2 First Bloods. We're thinking these arena style of gameplay. They're diving in, fighting as often and as much as they can at any given opportunity. But it has been pacing put in, at least in the balls court, for the SPL teams, the Valkyries, all of these SPL teams. They're fine with going towards late game, with focusing on the farm, and it seems to have caught the Hounds a little bit off guard.
Yeah, I think the SPL, and you know what, we can talk about that while no one except maybe Doomman Bro steps up to this Oni Fury. They play so much for the late game, where they, the early game matters, but only slightly. They really value that late game team fight, and unfortunately for the Hounds, they're going to be getting to that portion of the game pretty far behind gold-wise. The XP's not looking too bad. You're seeing a level here, 2 levels there. But the gold, the itemization is really going to start to add up there. So the Valks are able to confirm that Oni Fury for themselves, and they're not done. They're looking at the tier 1 tower and left, whereas it looks like Dudeman Bro is rotating over to possible Fire Giant here. The Eldritch Hounds don't quite have the vision. They will go for the Pyro. I was going to say, like, if you're making everyone rotate over, you better be going for a glory play like the FG. They're only going to go for the Pyro, though, and that's going to be the small win. Then they back up.
Yeah, that's the first line in the sand that they'll draw, and the first one that they'll step over to make sure that they can try and stem the bleeding that the Valkyries have started up. It at least gives a little bit over to the Eldritch Hounds, some global gold and XP to the team, because everybody kind of needs a little bit of help. Mid lane, 2 levels up for BennyQ, 1 in the jungle for Kiermi, and 2 for Wowie in that dual lane off of just the assist from the 1 kill on towards Dudeman Bro. But every little step counts for the Eldritch Hounds. If they can find a pick onto Kiermi here, this would be massive for the team. But Oath lost 3/4 of his health trying to fight Kiermi, and now that Wowie has joined the fray, it could be a turnaround for the Valkyries. A taunt in, a root in place, and the poison will take him down. Kiermi finds the 2nd kill of the game, and for the 2nd kill for him.
Yeah, Remakami had the ult there. Probably thought he had a little bit more HP to deal with, but not going to be the case, and falls down. And yeah, it started out what looked like possibly a pick on the Kiermi, but then I think the damage check came to fruition, and it was like, ooh, that Circuit does a lot. This Nemesis doesn't do a lot, and unfortunately going to have to back off. Remakami, again, thought they were a little bit tankier than they were, and now a tier 2 tower in right.
Wow.
Certainly could be getting looked at here as BennyQ is chasing out Oath in mid. So much aggression from the Valks.
Me in danger. Serpentine wins just off the mark. Centaurus shots. Not going to do enough damage. With the Trebuchet showing up, the Valkyries will disband. But the Hounds need to make sure to take care of that objective, because it has more than enough HP and damage to take out a tier 2 tower. Rotation in, a good wall locks BennyQ in place, but a quick transformation into the Bologna will get BennyQ out. Now it's Aquarius in the middle of 4, and he will gladly take this trade, at least for now. Immediately spins his way back out. BennyQ will de-transform, and the Valks have found their way out.
The Hounds looking to get a little bit aggressive here, and their only play is at this Fire Giant now. Spirit of the Nine Winds is down. The confirm that they would love is not here, but Quick has held on to that ultimate, so the Ymiro could be the play, as they are going to pull this, but it's not burning fast.
It is not going down at all. Kiermi's LH bar is, though. 1/4 HP, uses the ultimate as a last resort, but the shield from Oath will keep him alive. Gamma finds a pick onto Remakami, and Quick put down to half HP. A scrappy fight in the jungle will finally net the Eldritch Hounds their first kill of the game, but is that enough for them, Trelly?
I mean, I was going to say, I don't think it's enough for them to pull the Fire Giant, and that was right, so they will back off, but it's not going to be enough to close up that Goldie in the slice. In fact, it's still looking heavily in favor of the Valks. Gold Fury could be coming up here shortly, and that could be an option for them to try and get aggressive, try and force something else, but all the while, BennyQ's almost level 20 here, level 19 on the Morrigan. You don't have that much damage online. Oath finally gets access to a kill and actually does have a level up in the jungle too, Kiermi, because the Circuit has been dead for quite some time, while Oath has been able to steal away some farms, steal away that red buff. But the damage is still not there, and I don't think that Quig is able to frontline as effectively as he would really like. He hasn't died yet, of course, but that's because not too much aggression put around this support player. Once an actual objective is pulled and Quig tries to set up, I feel like the damage from Wowie, the damage from BennyQ, and of course, if Kiermi does decide to hit some CC on the frontliners, it's really going to start to show. So the Eldritch Hounds have an avenue back into this game for sure, I just think they're pretty happy to sit back and farm a little bit longer. Level 20, that's when they're feeling pretty strong. At the moment, they're like, we can stall this one out, guys. Let's just not fight until we have to.
Minion wave comes in, and that'll be enough to help the Valkyries take the tier 1 tower in mid. So now all 3 tier 1s and almost 1 tier 2 has been taken away by the Valhalla Valkyries. Gold Fury spawns in just under 30 seconds. And that was the attempt for the Hounds to get back in earlier on in the game, thwarted by the Valkyries, by the duo lane Gamma and Wowie. But it's the Valkyries who are the ones getting aggressive around the objective. Maybe they need to help out Benny-Q. Serpent9 wins, hits Gamma, Wowie dives in with the ult, but it's just a disengage from the Valkyries to scare the Hounds away.
Yeah, that is going to be pretty big, though, if you are going to get that transformation and double relics down from Benny-Q. What will the Hounds do with that is the question. Are they going to look to get aggressive? It looks like they are heading over towards that Gold Fury. Benny-Q's not going to be able to get into this fight. It's going to be very difficult with both relics and no ult, but Kirmi, he has no problem. He's going to stand up.
Stolen away through the ult last time, but it's Aquarius whose life is being stolen away. He cannot get past the wall, and Eagles rally in the backline by Remakami is good, but not enough for a kill just yet. Instead, Gamma will pick up 2 and throw the frontliners at the carries. Not enough damage just yet. Remakami slam back down, and Benny-Q picks up 1. Aquarius will find the 2nd kill of the team fight, and Kirmi has gone back in, but Benny-Q is trapped by himself. The Hounds have found their 2nd pick.
Yeah, there's still some low health bars here. Neither team feeling too confident, but Dude Man Bro, I lied, is going to dash right in while Gamma's jumping in as well.
Well, the knock-up in the root after is good, but it's a Hunter trade out, and the support goes down as well. Aquarius teleports back in, but a 3 for 3 at the end of the day, and Charlie, I gotta imagine that does benefit the Hounds with the lead that the Valks have had.
Yeah, that's definitely in favor of the Hounds. They are happy that number 1, the Gold Fury doesn't go down to the Valks, and number 2, they're able to just grab some picks and back up, get a little bit more gold in their favor. At this point, you know, the lead's still pretty heavily in favor of the Valks, but the Hounds have shown that, hey, they can look for a pick before the fight. Not get it, but it's set up for the fight after the fact. Benny-Q does end up going down, and the Hounds are still able to win a fight even at this deficit. They just have to put themselves in those positions. Forcing out that ult from Benny-Q, getting both relics, going over to Gold Fury, saying, go ahead, step up. Benny-Q was able to find a ton of damage, but fell down, and now the Pyromancer is being looked at. Up to Kirmi here, who still did hold on to the beads to go for the possible steal.
Could jump in, but I think he recognizes 4. He'll still go. The taunt ends up hitting the Pyromancer instead of anybody else. So the Hounds will grab themselves another neutral objective, and a big one at that. The Pyromancer gets a little bit more gold and XP in their pockets to try and play catch-up for a couple of these players. You can only hit 20 once, at least for Benny-Q, so for now, Crimson can only go further up and close that gap in XP as far as the mid lane is concerned. The gold still favors the Valkyries, at least for the time, and it's the Valks who are the ones now starting to posture around the Gold Fury.
Yeah, and they do have the vision game on the Gold Fury down, and they are clearing a ton of wards on this side of the map. There are a couple for the Hounds, so they will know if a little bit of movement is put towards that objective. But we are in the territory where, I mean, the Hounds should have free confirm. You know, Crim going for the early ult and messing up the confirmation, you know, that's unfortunate. But it should not be happening when you have a double stacking Kukulkan on the map. Fully stacked Thoth, fully stacked Warlocks. There should be nothing out confirming Spirit of the 9 wins. And you also are in that opportunity where if the Valks decide to go for a Gold Fury and the Hounds are all on the right side of the map, that Fire Giant's certainly an option. And that's why we're seeing some vision put on both of these objectives, just to make sure nothing sneaky goes on. As Quig walks up, does see a little bit of action from the Valks, but they're not looking for Quig.
No, they are looking for Remakami. Gamma gets stunned by the Eagles rally, but Gamma will still jump in to see if he can pick anybody up. It'll only be Quig, but keep your eyes on Oath in the backline. Serpent9 wins, slams through Benny-Q's health bar. He is forced out of the fight, and that shell, the only thing that kept the mid laner alive. Aquarius will be able to get right by the wall. The health bars are in favor of the Hounds, but the defense, the runaway from the Valkyries is good, especially if Aquarius can keep finding stuns like that, can keep finding shots.
Oh!
But Benny-Q on the transformation, finds an ult in the backline, and Kiri goes right back in to make it 2.
You never know when another Spear of the Nine Winds is going to come down Main Street, and this time from BennyQ transforming and sending that one down. Now the Valks have a little bit of wiggle room here. Their health bars are not looking great. I think back immediately and then head back in for this objective. That seems to be the call. Kirmi's going to stick around just to see what the Eldritch Hounds are going to do, and they have some time to figure out how they want to make this defense. There is a little bit of CDR for Erupt Crimson, but I don't think if the Valks play this right, there will even be a chance for a Spear of the Nine Winds steal. Kirmi is still playing zone duty, though. He wants to make sure no Hounds sneak up on this objective. They're taking their sweet time, though. They have 4 seconds before Quick comes back in. Ramakami's up in 8, and they haven't even started damaging the Fire Giant.
Fire will now be started by the Valkyries. Oath is here, and is likely the only one who can get in to try and stop this one down. Duman Bro does have ult, so a long-range Centaurus shot has a chance to steal. But look at how far up Aquarius is to make sure that that is not an opportunity for the Eldritch Hounds. The Fire Giant goes to the Valkyries. Duman Bro stunned out. Kirmi in the backline finds Quig and separates him from the rest of the team. And now the dive in by Wowie, and ultimate picked up onto Gamma, but he got hit by that ult from the mid laner. Crimson makes a 1-for-1 trade out because of it, but now it's another Serpent of the Nine Winds by Benny, and it finds 3 people. The Valkyries mid laner is making perfect use of this Kukulkan. Not going to find the pick just yet, but Benny will get it after that last shot.
I mean, you can't give Benny Cuckoo, apparently, because he just does not miss these ultimates. It's that state of mind where, you know, the Eldritch Hound's like, we have the big burst ultimate. We don't have to worry about it. We're not expecting this giant train just coming through doing 1,200 damage at times. And it keeps catching them off guard. And now the Hounds are in a situation where they have to defend 3v4 at this tier 2 tower, and they're not going to defend. They're going to back up and say, hey, that one's for free. You guys can take it. I imagine the Valks grab all the jungle they can and head over to that Gold Fury, and they can back up and spend all that gold that they have in pocket. Should be some massive power spikes going the way of the Valks. Notably, the Hounds still do have a ton of damage. Their turtle is not that hard, right? You have the Emperor's armor. You got Bracer. That's going to be a lot of damage that you can just use sitting underneath your Phoenix. Quig still has the opportunity to get some clutch walls off. You know, the Emperor's armor is going to go a long way here. Gamma is kind of tanky. He's got Spirit Row, but besides that, it's just a lot of HP. The Phoenix damage will start to add up if Gamma's in charge of tanking that up. So there are definitely some ways here that the Eldritch Hounds can find a pick, sort of slow down this siege. Only 26 minutes in. Still relatively late game. There is a ton of damage, but it's not impossible. There's still plenty of opportunity here for the Hounds to just bunker up under this Phoenix and look for a pick. It's all going to be off the back of Krim hitting a massive ult and the front line. I mean, Ramakami is going to have to go big here, just get to the back and try and hit a massive stun here for the squad.
The Valkyries have found an explosive second half. I mean, we went 13 minutes before we saw a first blood drop. That one was for Kirmi over in the dual lane, and the second one for Kirmi on the right side of the map. And ever since that 13-minute mark, the last 14 have been so good for the Valkyries. 2v2 in the mid lane puts Crimson and Kirmi both at critical HP, but it's 2 ults expended, and Duman Bro left by himself. Beads and Aegis are not enough to save the Chiron. They're not going to be enough to save the Amir. The dual lane of the Eldritch Hounds has fallen to the mid laner of the Valkyries. BennyQ on a double kill, and the Valkyries with only 1 tower left standing between them and the 3 Phoenixes.
Yeah, but they are going to push with that Trebuchet down left while the tanks just mess around in the enemy base. Gamma and Aqua not too worried about the damage. Aquarius is actually getting aggressive. Someone's going to have to get pulled back, but not going to be the case. Uptown goes Ramakami.
And Ramakami will go down himself. A triple kill for BennyQ unofficially, and maybe add another double to his pocket. Erupt Crimson being poked away, and Aquarius will be the one to make sure that Kukulkan is held back. The left side Phoenix is gone. The mid laner is almost gone for the Hounds. Oath forced back to the fountain. The Valhalla Valkyries in 28 minutes will make their way into the throne room. The Titan down to a quarter HP, and it's the Valkyries who will take the 2-0 over the Eldritch Hounds.
2-0 victory. There were some bumps in the road in both of these games, as we talked about, but late game was all Valks. BennyQ going massive with these Spear of the Nine Winds that, again, the Hounds just were not expecting. They were grouping up for it, maybe expecting, you know, maybe he'll be a Bologna, maybe there'll be a big stun coming through. No, there's a big 1,200 damage mage ultimate flying through. should be grouping up for those, but they just weren't in the right mindset. The Valks were looking explosive, and they played off each other so well.
I mean, for the Valks, I mean, there were moments where BennyQ was in dire situations. I mean, he walked out of that fight above the Fire Giant with less than 10% HP.
Oh, yeah.
But he had the presence of mind to still stick around, knowing that nobody could get to him, and then he fires off his first Serpentine wins of the fight, ends up getting a kill, gets a transformation later on, and finds 3 people with it. The grouping by the Hounds, maybe just a little too much when you're dealing with a mage with that much burst damage.
Yeah, and just so much versatility. You never know. I mean, there was a few times when the Bologna was the case to get over walls, so maybe that's why they were just so expecting it, but just wasn't the case. Wowie was using the global presence as much as you need, and Kirmi was constantly getting relics down. I mean, everyone was doing their job, exactly what you'd want to see, and the Valk came out on top.
Second set of the day goes to the Valhalla Valkyries, and another one for the SMITE Pro League. We'll see if maybe the SCC can bring it back in our later sets, but that's it for this one. We'll throw it over to the desk to close it out.
That's right, the Valks stay alive up top in their group. Meanwhile, the Hounds will have to fight through their losers bracket. Again, that's going to be the kickoff for Group B. That makes things really interesting. And Mifflin, I think that they look pretty solid, honestly. The Hounds and the Valks, I think that both have really good moments throughout that one. Some of the highlights for me are exactly what the desk said. They're not the desk, we're the desk. The casters said.
We're the desk.
Was Benny, admittedly not on a god he was playing, but playing the Kukul Khan and getting some of those ults.
Yeah, I'd argue Benny probably landed more of those Spirit of the Nine wins than we saw from the other side. I mean, Crimson had a harder time of it, right? Like, at least Benny had the element of surprise, never really knew what he was going to transform into, whereas the Valkyries always knew that ultimate was coming their way. Otherwise, Kirmi gets involved all the way across the map. Early on, has himself a phenomenal performance, 7.5 KDA. But I think it's a second verse, same as the first situation. The game is contentious and close throughout the early game. First, Gold Fury gets pulled out, and what happens? Wowie walks up and steals it away again on his own, like 1 versus 3 again. And from there, the Valhalla Valkyries just kind of held on to their momentum, whereas the Eldritch Hounds were scrambling a bit, trying to reestablish their footing on the map. I think the thing that I would want to see improve from the Eldritch Hounds based off of this set alone, just that objective secure. If you're going to start them up, let's make sure we're getting them.
Yeah, it's been, I think, stressful times so far for them, the Hounds, this time around. A good play, though, I think that we got to see from the Valkyries. Most notably, you know, we talked about it a little bit going into this. This is going to tie in pretty well to the post-game interview as well. Benny's 6-1-3, and while maybe the rest of the slash lines don't look as clean, 3-1-9 for Kirmi, and it was one of the first times we got to see Serket in the jungle again. Looks like it did pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, Serket jungle, I'm still a fan of it. I just feel like it has so much damage output. I mean, it's been a while, so it's hard to remember all the changes, but what you need to know is that her scaling has been severely changed from last we saw her dominating the meta over in that support role. Now it's a little bit more build some power, your scaling's pretty high, your damage output is going to become pretty high as the game goes on as well. But the main strengths of Serket have largely gone unchanged. She still is incredibly mobile. Sure, the leap, like I think they took 15 units off of the leap, but it's still a leap and a dash plus a CCMU ultimate that does massive damage plus the passive, right? I mean, plenty of burst.
Yeah.
Surprised that it's taken this long to see some Serket back in the game.
Got to give shout-outs to Crimson, 25,000 damage, which is bonkers compared to the rest of his team and compared to most of the game, except Aquarius, who put up 27,000 damage.
So cool.
Well, luckily though, you can take like some of that off for like just generic I'm King Arthur and solo
like 10K
lane,
off.
right? Yeah, so like maybe call it 17K, and then we'll give the rest over to Crimson. I think it looked good. It'll be fun to watch the Hounds, but again, they will not be playing for a couple more days. This tomorrow we'll be going through the other initial games of each group. But for now, though, the Valkyries get their win here, and we've got BennyQ and Kirmi standing by for an interview.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gore. Valkyries, congratulations on your first win of the event. And the desk talked about it just a little bit with the Serket, but Kirmi, kind of tell me your thoughts on this guy. I mean, it has been a while since we've seen her. What made you kind of decide to pick her up in this second game?
Against the Hounds specifically, I feel that the best way to play against them is that the only people on their team that make plays are Quig and Oath. So if I'm playing gods that just keeps Oath in check, it's a lot easier for my team to just win the game.
All right, well, that's a solid answer. BennyQ, I'm going to come to you, the voice of Trelly over here. And, you know, I got to cast that game. And to me, you're going to have to fill me in some insight here. Was this just the big differ at work? I mean, the Cuckoo ults for you were landing. Unfortunately, Crims weren't hitting the same. Was that kind of what you were feeling?
I mean, I'm probably the best Cuckoo on the planet. Just how it is.
And with that win, you guys get to move on. But, I mean, we're enjoying a nice little casual set out here. What is your go-to when you're going to the beach? What kind of snacks are you bringing alongside to kind of chill out on the beach with?
I'm going to need some Diet Cokes.
Some Diet Cokes. What about you, Kiermy?
Just like sandwiches.
Some sandwiches. What kind of sandwich you going? You going turkey, ham?
PB&J.
PB&J sandwiches. So some Diet Cokes and some PB&Js over for the
yeah.
Valkyries. Thank you so much, guys. Congrats on
Thank
your
you.
win. We'll throw it back over to the desk.
Jungle Diff.
Well, see, now here's the real thing. Like, they ask about snacks and stuff, and you know, you hear the Diet Coke from Benny. It's because his coolers are too full of weights for him to deadlift. I don't know if anybody watched. He hit, like, what was it, like 555 or something?
He's so
the other day.
strong.
It's actually a little ridiculous to think about. But hey, good on them, and congratulations again to the Valks for winning that one. And Mifflin, again, starting off the day, maybe not incredibly surprising. Leviathans and the Valkyries move on, and they find themselves 2-0s in these best of threes as so far. But it is fun, at least in my mind, how close some of these have been. At least early on, for the Wardens, for the Hounds, in each set, each game. It hasn't just been a runaway by any of the SBL teams yet.
No, and it's not the last we'll see of these SCC boys either. I'm sure they're gunning for some revenge now that they've got a firmer grasp of how the SPL meta has developed, had an opportunity to see how they match up against some of these SPL talents. Maybe next time we see them, they'll be coming in with a bit more oomph in their back pockets. But still plenty of matches to go today, and like the rest of the week, there's like a lot of Smite this week, I'm told.
Yes. In fact, one of the things you'll be seeing tomorrow after the Titans take on the Scorpions is the Kings taking on the Gladiators. And that will determine who will then go up against the Valks, who will go up against the Hounds. That matchup, match 10, if you're looking at any of these, you know, loser bracket ones, those will be going on Friday initially. And then everything that's like the match 18 listed here, those will be on Sunday. So if you're looking for elim matches, that's going to be Friday. Promotion matches on Saturday. Sunday's technically one of each, right? They're a simultaneous promo match and elim match all in one go. And yeah, as it turns out, when you've got 4 groups of 4 teams each, that's 16 total teams for those of you who are doing math real quickly, and you go through all of them, Mifflin, it adds up to about 20 sets of Smite.
I don't have enough fingers.
We've done, well, add some toes in there. You can hold them up. And then, yeah, you're going to be able to hit that. We've gone through 2 of those. That means there's 18 more sets this week. 2 more sets today. We're going to kick it to a quick break. And when we get back, we got the Storms taking on the Bolts.